Thank you, Mary. Dr. George Wood is the principal of Federal Hocking High School in southeastern Ohio. He's the founder of Wildwood Secondary School in Los Angeles, California. He's a professor at Ohio University. He somehow found time to edit his latest book, Many Children Left Behind: How the NCLB Act is Damaging Our Schools and Our Children. And he's a great dad. Please welcome George Wood.
Thank you, John. You know, I'm not really a rally speaker. I'm a high school principal, and every day I'm a high school principal at a high school in the poorest county in the state of Ohio. And every day when I stand out in front of the school and welcome my kids in the door, I see firsthand the effects of leaving too many children behind. The kids that walk by me in the morning, many of them walk in our doors counting on us to serve the only 2 hot meals they're going to get in the day. They come to school in pain because this country has not seen fit to provide them with health and dental care. They come to school in clothes they have to wear over and over because their parents work in jobs that don't pay enough to provide them with several wardrobes. And believe me, several of them come to school not knowing where they're going to sleep that night. Now, it isn't that these kids and these families don't try and do better. We're the poorest county in the state. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state. It's because these kids are members of probably the most overlooked class of Americans today, and that's the working poor. Now, they don't want you to feel sorry for them. I don't want you to right away have a drive and send us a bunch of blankets or something. Right? That usually happens whenever we talk about what we deal with. Rather, we just want our kids to have a fair chance. And so when I heard that there would be legislation passed that would leave no child behind, I got to tell you, I was hopeful. You know, I was hopeful that America would finally decide that we really weren't going to leave any child behind. I was hopeful that America would do the following. We would provide health care for every child, not unreasonable in the richest country on the face of the earth. That we would immediately enact an increase in the minimum wage so that parents who work for a living can provide for their kids. That we would immediately push for equal funding of schools so the quality of a child's school didn't depend on where they happened to be born. That we would increase funding for Head Start, we would provide more subsidies for housing and childcare for children, and when it comes to schools, that we would do what we know makes a difference, and it isn't giving more tests. Look, I was a high school teacher. My God, if I'd known that just by giving kids another test every day they'd get smarter, that's all I would have done. But that doesn't make any difference. What makes a difference is the context, the environment in which kids go to school. Places where young people are in close proximity to powerful adults who can make a difference in their lives. Places where class sizes are reasonable, where kids aren't just running around from class to class every day trying to cover more and more material that makes less and less sense to them. I thought, and call me naive, that that was what would happen. I was more than disappointed. We have been given, on both a state and federal level, a horrible betrayal of our children and our communities. You've heard the list. Let me just add a few more points. We've all talked about, why is there such a big building for people with such small minds behind us? We have, look, I can't miscount a kid in my school without the threat of losing my license as a principal. How do they get away with just ignoring the Supreme Court of the state? What's that all about? And we're supposed to teach kids. Well, we've been betrayed with a school reform program that is based solely on demanding we raise test scores and does nothing, absolutely nothing, to change the context of education, and in fact has been funded by taking money away from the Small Schools Initiative that began to break up the 2 large high schools in this country. It's been funded with the wrong dollars. We have federal intrusion now into local school decision-making that I never ever imagined Republicans would stand for. I used to believe that that was the party of less government and small government, and I wanted a little bit more government because I like public services. Now I find out that in fact the Republican Party, led by Mr. Bush and the Secretary of Education, believe that bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. should decide who we can hire as teachers, what curriculum can be approved, and what programs we can run in our schools. This is astounding. I cannot believe that we have allowed this sort of federal bureaucratic takeover of our schools, and the results of all this are way too clear to me. Schools are being held